everybody. Welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast, and apparently not the first choice of most people in a certain Facebook thread, but brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Nexus at Night. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Revere.
So, I don't even visit Vanguardians, so...
Mm-hmm. No, it was like a thing where someone's like, what's your go-to Vanguard thing? Drive check, drive check, drive check, drive check. One Nexus at Night guy, drive check, drive check.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't care.
I know, but it was just funny where I was like, guess we're not as popular as we thought we were.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh well. Love you guys anyway. So today, because it's fishing season and that's Root Beer's favorite time of year, we're talking about these new Lyrical Monasterio reveals, and specifically whether or not the reduced power for stronger skills is a good design choice. So, yeah. At the time of recording this morning, they had revealed I forgot the name. It was like Blackwing, Whitewing.
Mm-hmm.
And where, depending on the number of grades in your bind zone, you get either a Blackwing ability or a Whitewing ability. So either Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Stevie Nicks. And what do we think?
I mean, honestly, kind of looks like it sucks. Like, the rear guards might carry it, but just from the ride line, it kind of sucks.
So they're cramming these two, like, just back-to-back, although I guess they did that for every other nation.
Yeah. I mean, this nation has 5 ride lines. They gotta reveal them eventually.
5 ride lines? Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, there's the TD, and then there's... Well, hang on, let me go look at the page on the wiki.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, I'll read these out for you. So there's the starter, the grade 1, where if you put it on Vanguard, bind the top card. And then if you have a Whitewing ability, when you would ride from your ride deck, you can Soul Blast instead of discarding. And then if it's Blackwing, all of your opponent's grade 1 or less rear guards can't attack it.
Mm-hmm.
The grade 2 is, when it's placed on Van, choose a card from your bind zone, put it on the bottom of your deck, and if you put something, bind the top card. And then Whitewing is, once per turn, counterblast 1, it gets an extra crit. And Blackwing is, during the battle this unit attacked, your opponent can't use trigger units to guard. And then lastly, the grade 3, on Van at the beginning of your main phase, choose a card from your bind zone, put it into your hand. If you put a card, bind the top card. And then Whitewing is, during your turn, gets plus 5k to crit, and Blackwing is, during your turn, everybody on the opponent's side gets minus 5k.
So, I saw a thread on Vanguardians today.
You said you don't go on Vanguardians.
Well, let me restate. I was informed of a thread on Vanguardians.
There you go. Okay.
Where some buffoon was like, well, if Whitewings are odd and Blackwings are even, what's 0? What do we do about grade 0 since it's neither even nor odd? And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, God damn, I hate everyone. So,
as a math major, this must happen a lot.
I mean, well, let me ask you something. What is the definition of an even number?
I don't know. I just thought it was you're counting by 2s, and it starts with 0, 2, 4, 6, 8.
So it's always going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, etc., right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And all of those numbers are 2 times something.
Okay.
Right? So an even number can be described as one that you can write as 2 times something. So 12 is even because it's 2 times 6.
Yeah.
26 is even because it's 13 times 2.
Yeah.
Etc. So 0 is 2 times 0. Hence make it even. It's really quite simple.
But you can also do like 1 times 0 and get that too.
That's not how odd numbers work. Odd numbers are of the form 2 times a number plus 1.
Oh.
So 7 is 2 times 3 plus 1. And hence it's odd.
And that's why 0 can't be odd. I didn't know that's how that worked. That's cool.
But either way, 0 is most definitely even. They tell you this, like, I don't know, sometime in elementary school at some point.
They never explained why it was. They just said that it was.
Yeah.
You know? They just said, these are even, these are odd. Deal with it.
But to be confused about 0 is mind-boggling.
Oh. Yeah,
just because, like, you were literally told at some point in your life.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't remember this. I just assumed 0 was going to be even because we already have 1 and 3 as odd numbers, and since there are no grade 4s in standard right now, I would just assume they'd go with 0 and 2 as even.
That is a very backwards way of getting to it, but yeah, that I don't like your logic, but you obtained the right answer.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I always do math, is the most backwards logic to arrive at an answer. Not always the correct one, but I arrive at an answer.
See, that always bothered me growing up, where it's like you have to do a proof or whatever, and then they're like, no, you didn't do it the right way. I'm like, yeah, but I got the right answer. What does it matter?
Well, proofs are basically just like writing out the steps. Like, you write, like let's say you want to prove that. What's something that's like kind of annoying to prove? What's the really basic proof here?
Is he living?
So, they're like a bunch of like trig identity proofs is usually where they start you, but like I can't think of anything that's like easier to say on air. But like it's just about like basically writing down like every step of logic. Everything should logically follow from the previous step. Like, you could make a statement like if A then B, right? And that's like one logical step. So you're like, I've gotten to A. Now I know that B is true by statement. And then like you just do that for every step until you get the answer. The thing about proofs is that you're given the answer up front. You have to reconstruct the process. So getting the answer doesn't matter because you're already given that.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
can you tell math isn't my subject?
Most definitely. It's the most common response to I teach math is, I hate math. It's quite interesting.
I think that might have been the first thing I said to you when we
quite possibly
met.
I don't keep track.
He gets it so often. Also, I was wrong. Lyrical Monasterio has 6 ride lines.
Oh,
my
apologies.
fucking kidding me.
Yeah, because there's the one from the TD, which we already got, and then there's 5 in the set.
Oh my god. I'm gonna vomit.
Very cool.
Matt, if it makes you feel any better, the first thing I hear from people when I tell them I'm a comedian, tell me a joke. So.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah. Sucks real bad. So. Although one time I was asked that by a plumber, and I was like, hey, can you fix my toilet right here, right now? He's like, no. I'm like, then shut up. So. Yeah. I noticed that for that, and also for a lot of these cards that we're seeing outside of the ride lines, of course, is that they are lower base power.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah. I think everything we've seen outside of ride lines so far, and that one promo, has been lower base power.
Really?
Yeah.
That grade 1, when discarded from your hand during your turn, Soul Blast, call it to a rear.
That's 6k.
6k, yeah.
There's the grade 1 that has 10k shield, that gets plus 10k shield if you have 3 or more open rear guard circles. That's 7k power.
There's a 3k, right?
Yeah, there's the 3k, and then there's the grade 3 on play gets 10k, and that's 10k base.
Well, you'll be pleased to know the triggers have normal power.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of
feels
bizarre. Because when they have lower base power, like, it makes the power gains from, like, the Vanguard skills and, like, other, like, orders and whatnot, like, a little less good. Because, like, when you have, like, 10 plus 8, and you give plus 10 to that column, 28 is a really good number. But when you have, like, 8 and 7, 25 is much less good.
Yeah, well, because it's at the minimum, 28 is 2 cards from hand. At the minimum. 25 can be a 1-card guard.
Right. And 28 can be a 1-card guard now, but, like, it requires them to have that specific front. But, like, I still think, like, the power loss ends up, without lots and lots of, like, egregious power gain, it can be kind of bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is everything they've revealed so far does have a bunch of power gain.
No, the grade 1 7k has shield, right?
Yeah. But, like, as far as offensive rear guards go, there's a grade 2 8k on play, you counterblast 1, it gets plus 10k, and then the grade 3...
That's bad, right? Like, is that worthwhile?
I mean, that one's bad. But, like, the grade 3... There's also the grade 3 I just talked about, where 10k base, but it gains 10k on place.
That's okay.
At least that's
Sucks
free.
that it doesn't do anything. Yeah, that one's free, but it doesn't do anything afterward.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
but
these
like
cards,
the mechanic of the deck is, these are all TD cards, so the mechanic of the deck is returning cards to your hand, right? I think they want you to like return things to your hand and have an empty board.
Right.
I know Bermuda Triangle has done different things with that in the past, where sometimes it was you would bounce stuff either to renew effects, or you would get bonuses from an empty board. I know sometimes there was a thing where it was on attack you would call things from your hand, so you were encouraged to bounce stuff just to keep it. But having all these on place effects, this is probably the better deck to have this in. There's a reason people ran Ghost Chase for a while. It was to reuse shit like Mantis. It's a thing.
Yeah, I generally think returning the hand is a good mechanic, but I definitely think the way these cards have been designed was intentional on Bushiroad's part. I think they want you to be constantly emptying your board and calling things back and taking, because when you factor in all of the on-play skills, everything you have does make decent numbers.
True.
The 3K grade 1 in front of that 10K is the Magic 13.
And the TD ride line is the one that needs the Persona ride, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the second ride line we've seen is the one that's cares about even or odds.
Yeah, the black wing, white wing thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it black wing, right wing. I'm just going to call it even odd.
Okay, fine.
It's just easier to process, if that makes sense. Quicker.
Yeah.
Plus, it's less syllables. It's the better.
You could say white black, but that also doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
you'll be black and white, and people are Pokemon. You're no, that's.
No, those games sucked.
I don't know. Black 2 and White 2 are pretty dope.
Yeah, but Black White. Yeah, so I didn't play those because Black 1 and White 1 were fucking awful. I saw no point.
Oh, okay. I went back later.
It's literally ruined competitive battling for me.
What? Because it was the weather generation?
Well, not only that, but they added team preview, so you couldn't hide monsters on a team anymore. It made shit like Doug Trio useless.
I don't know. Nexus at Night, the Pokemon podcast? I haven't done that gag in a while.
I was gonna do it when we started getting into math, but I didn't feel like it.
Well, no, math is used on this show for stuff, though, sometimes. But Pokemon, not so much.
Is the angel shit even good, question mark?
No, it's not. Half the skills are useless, and because you're binding randomly from the top, you will probably never have the skill you want when you want it.
Yeah, that's what bothers me a lot. Imagine if you put your key in the ignition of your car and it worked half the time.
All the ride line shit's awful because it all only works on Vanguard Circle.
Mm-hmm.
And then the grade 3, I think you just want the even effect.
Yeah.
Probably, question mark?
Yeah, well, I think if your opponent's at 3 or less damage, you might want the power plus 5,000 and the critical for that pressure early, but once they get around 4 damage and they're just going to PG your Vanguard anyways, you pretty much just always want the -5.
I think, the consistent way to build the deck, because you can build it in a way which almost guarantees evens, but you cannot build it in a way that guarantees odds.
Yeah.
So,
I would hope they introduce a rear guard that just lets you swap what's in your bind zone.
There's certainly a possibility.
It triggers when you activate it, right? You can't at the
No, they're continuous.
Continuous. I see. I see. If you put a card have your card face up.
And then the black and white skills are separate.
Only has
skills.
odd grades. Only has even grades. So if it's mixed, then you get nothing.
Yes.
I hate this mechanic.
Oh, I misread that. I thought it was you counted the stuff I have a 1, a 3, and a 2.
Yeah, so
Right.
basically they want you to keep cycling your bind zone until you like make something happen. These are worse than I thought.
Ew.
No, this
dude.
ride line is awful.
Ew.
Holy shit.
Holy shit! I misread that. Reading is hard, but like, oh my god.
This just keeps getting worse and worse the more I think about it.
Yeah.
Like somebody was talking. Apparently, somebody was talking about this, and it was just like, I don't know. I think people want like shit like Bermuda to be much better than it actually is, and like I think the TD ride line just looks way better than this, and I don't think the TD ride line is like particularly insane.
I think the TD ride line is like fine.
Yeah, I mean it's a little slow. Requires Persona ride, which I don't like. I think that's the real killer on it, honestly.
Yeah,
You're talking
I've
to a
already
you're talking to a Magnolia and a Hexaord player. We know. Like,
Yeah.
I've already talked at length about Persona riding. I don't need to go into it more.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of, saying it here.
Yeah.
But, like, I think it's much better than this Angel one. The more I read this Angel one, the less I like it.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, if this deck ends up being any good, it would be entirely because the rear guards carry it, but, like, man. The benefits you get from having the effects active are not great. Like, you can't guarantee which skill you get. Like you said, you can probably build your deck to get the even one more consistently than the odd skill, but then, if you wanted a particular skill, you can't really control it.
Another thing is that, so far as I can tell from the translation, it may be like the person did it wrong or something, but you're forced to pick a card from your bind zone every turn and thus bind the top card, which means you are at risk of turning your effect off every turn. It's not,
Yep.
oh, I got to the thing, I'm just going to stop doing it. Nope, every turn you got to pick something, bind something.
Yeah, at least that's plussing you cards because you're grabbing an extra card every turn. But yeah, it means like you're never gonna guarantee the skill you want unless they have a rear guard that lets you swap cards in your bind zone.
Mm-hmm.
This is worse Monster Strike. Changed my mind.
I barely even paid attention to the Monster Strike stuff, so...
Oh, they also draw a card every turn, basically, right?
Oh, okay. So, I don't know. I guess it's just the thing where I feel like that there's a kind of hesitancy to make Bermuda Triangle's successor too good, because Bermuda Triangle has been good many times, and when it's good, it's always like crazy good.
So it was good, like, at the very end of G.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It was good most, like, whenever it got new sets in V, and that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Prior to the end of G era, Bermuda was pretty meme.
Were the Legions good?
God, no.
No?
No, the Legions were. I think when Prisms first came out, because they were the only break ride, I think
Mm-hmm.
They
They topped Hawaii.
Yeah, like they topped because they were the only break ride that one time. I think when we got Sunshine Vert in G, so that was like the second G Bermuda set. I think that
Mm-hmm.
like Prisms were good for a hot second, and then yeah, at the very end.
And they weren't insane with Vert.
Mm-hmm.
They were just good. But
Yeah.
the very end of G, it was insane.
Yes. And then like, I think when Melody first came out, it was insane until they banned it.
And then it was very bad.
Yeah, and then when Riviere came out, until they eroded it, and then it was very bad.
We only had we had less than a month of Riviere in EN. So like it's hard to even say like if that was even if that even really counted.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess Prisms are good right now.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know how well that translates into the V metagame. I'm not really paying attention.
Me neither.
Yeah.
We're the best Vanguard podcast ever.
Look, it's hard to keep track of V.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I could have asked people, but
We do the research here at Nexus at Night. We're
Definitely.
tops.
I didn't know I'd be talking about this. So.
That's fair. I mean, like we knew what the topic was going to be a few
never
days
mind.
in advance.
Prism is in fact insane. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
It's I knew Prism was very good. I didn't know how good, and apparently it's just actually nuts.
See, now I'm wondering if they're going to have 4 more ride lines. If there's 6
4
total.
more.
Okay, you got 4 more. you have the TD. Is the Lyrical Monasterio set, that's its own set, right?
Yep.
Okay, so they're gonna have to cram jam-packed stuff into there.
I'm pretty sure they're just not putting it into the 5 nation sets. I'm pretty sure we're just gonna keep having fish season. That's what it's looking like right now.
I thought they were doing it the once and then it continues on.
I thought that's what they said, but like
yeah.
The way things are shaking out, it seems like we're just gonna continue having fish season, which is the worst solution.
And yeah, because you have to do 5 roundups in a row. Good luck.
But not that. But it's also just like we already know that like set 3 and set 4 are coming. So, you know, with this being the way it is with 6 ride lines, there's no way they're going to be able to cram that into a set with all of the other nations. Like this nation alone already has enough different mechanics going on to rival like the other 5. So, like plus they're introducing new ride lines in set 3, so there's like no way they're gonna be able to cram all of this into a single set. Which is infuriating because we already know it's gonna be at least 2 sets before the next time Lyrical Monasterio gets any kind of support relative to the other nations.
So if they're bad now, they're very doomed. Very cool.
Yeah, but then you have the same problem Fish Season always had, which is they have to make up for an entire year. So they're usually the thing that slides the power creep scale up with their new stuff.
Maybe.
Their example being that's the first break ride, you know?
Well, it wasn't the first break ride in Japan. It's just how they like shifted stuff in English.
Yeah.
It just ended up being the first one for us.
Gotcha.
Because we managed to get it before the TDs, before the Gansalt Liberator TD.
Yeah.
And the Mordred TD. So like we should have had like Japan had those TDs first. So it was less good in Japan when it happened.
Okay. So
it's like an English exclusive thing that Bermuda was even good by break rides.
So it's kind of like the thing with them combining sets 16 and 17, or doing the 1, 2, 6, 3, 4 in like early Vanguard days. I don't know what their deal is with English, where they're just like, we're just gonna shuffle stuff around.
My personal favorite is 11 then 10.
Yeah, what was the deal with that?
They didn't want Draconic Descendant out that early.
Oh. Okay, I guess, but
because it was kind of like a huge problem in Japan, so they wanted to push it off, even though like everyone had learned the strat of no guard.
What are you gonna do? So, I'm wondering if the rest of these ride lines, where if the even odd ride line has normal power, and the TD ride line has these wonky numbers, but for slightly stronger effects.
The TD ride line had normal numbers. It's just the rear guards.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. So the rest of the deck could share the same stuff in theory.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's better.
I mean, like all we've seen so far are TD cards, so it's hard to say that this will be a trend. Like the one that makes the most sense is the 3K grade 1, because that just lets you get something off the top of your deck really easily in a deck that can recycle on plays. So it makes sense that they would make it much weaker in terms of offensive power.
Yeah.
But like we already got a promo card that's a normal 10K. Like the ride lines all have the standard power numbers. The card that gets 10K shield being a 7K is consistent with how they've done stuff like that. Like, Dragon Empire also has a bunch of grade 1s that have weird power numbers for no reason.
What's that card for Brandgate that gets extra shield that works in Orfist? What is it again? Useful Recharger. Oh, that's an 8K. Never mind. For some reason, I thought he was a 7K. Where it's like Counterblast 1 if your Dark Knight gets 5K shield, if your Abyssal it gets 10.
But that has
eight.
like other correct. Although this one does have I don't know. But yeah, it feels like because a lot of these cards that have weird, I think for the power gaining cards, it's obviously because they're trying to encourage you to keep using the bounce mechanic, so they want... I feel like they've designed it in a way so that it still makes good column numbers, but because the base power is bad, it's encouraging you to keep using the bounce mechanic.
Yeah.
So I honestly think a lot of this is just them designing around the mechanic, not necessarily like a trend with cards having more powerful skills having lower numbers.
So, shot myself in the foot then for the episode idea.
Yeah.
Well
honestly,
done.
Like, because like when I was doing the roundup and I thought about it, I'm like, you know, like it just seems like they're designing around the mechanic mostly. There are some outliers, like the grave one that when it's discarded from hand, you can Soul Blast one, call it to an open rearguard circle. That's 6k, and then like I feel like other skills with that similar type of effect would normally be 7k, but that's not a huge difference, honestly.
But what's fun is that like where's that in the TD ride line? Fuck these Monster Strike cards so hard. They're in the way. The rearguard skill for that is during the battle it's boosted, it gets 5k, and then ironically the grade 1, it's when placed on rear it gets 2k. So for something like that 6k, it would work perfectly with the grade 2 if it worked like that, if it got its 2k. That is weird, isn't it? Like those old cards, you remember the old 6ks where it's like on place it gets give something 2k.
God, I remember those. Those were awesome.
Yeah, those, or like the draw trigger put in soul gives something 3k.
Oh, those were great.
Those were good.
Unironically.
Yeah.
Especially the one in Great Nature.
Wait, why?
Because I played like 8 stand triggers with it. So back then you would play like Lamb Camel or whatever, and you could just it was relevant. The 3k was relevant. That's all I'll say.
Because it would be 12k and then you dope it at 16.
Well, no, it would be you would dope it 3 times because with reverse, right? So it'd be 21.
Yeah. And
then 24 could like hit over a cross-ride shit.
Yeah, you're right. Or yeah, because it would be nice for you like rest tank mouse give something 4k, lock tank mouse give 2 things 4k.
Yeah, it was the best.
Yeah, good stuff. The like weird obsession with set 13 Leopold. Mwah. So good. So I guess what I had in mind for the episode was like quickly solved by the reveals this morning for the most part, because I thought this was just going to be the nation. I thought it was going to be, all right, we have some weaker base power, but the effects are going to be crazier.
And that could still be true, but definitely not for this even odd ride line.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this even odd ride line was much worse than what I thought it would be when
I thought it looked okay for a second, but I hadn't really read what the effect, how to get the different effects. But after I like read it, I'm like, kind of hate this, because you pretty much, like I said, can build so that you're constantly
even.
Yeah, you're constantly even, but like that's the only thing that you can't build for odd. So you have to if you just like the odd effect's just never gonna happen like as reasonably.
Yeah, but also like the odd effect because that's the thing is you want different effects. I think the grade 1, the even effect is pretty much useless. I can't think of a lot of situations where you're gonna end up being grade 1 rushed. Like a lot of grade 1s are just utility cards. I wouldn't play them early to attack with a lot of the time. So I would much rather just Soul Blast 1 to ride up instead of discarding a card. And then I think the grade 2 is the only one where you could maybe have an argument about it, where like critical +1 early at grade 2 is pretty decent for early pressure, or you know, your opponent can't call trigger units when this unit attacks, basically guarantees a hit. So like if you were planning on calling things early, you could guarantee some damage in, or force your opponent to call like a lot of cards.
But there's no like that's all in the early game where either you need rear guards that put a lot of pressure on early, so that having you do a damage that early matters.
Mm-hmm.
Or it just, you're like, you can't use triggers to guard. You're like, I didn't plan to. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, I think for most of these, I think like one of the skills is just clearly preferable to the other, and so it's already like not great just because of that. But then also the fact that it's so hard to control like what you're going to get just makes that so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and then like on top of that, it's just like the effects themselves just aren't that impactful to begin with, because like -5 to all units is kind of okay. It's like it's essentially saying +5 to your front row. It makes rear guards a little bit easier to harass. And then like 5k in a crit is not a lot. You're still gonna have to do more work to make that number at all impactful, and your opponent can always just PG it.
I guess you have Persona Ride to try and make that more of a thing, but
yeah, but
who
like
cares?
at that point, your opponent should already be at like 4 damage at least at that, and you probably just want the -5k to have your pressure spread across your board, so that a single card can't just stop your turn.
So as it stands now, you have 0 control over which one you get. So without like repeatable, basically, and I'm going to say just like a repeatable grade 1 for some reason that allows you to swap the card out of your bind zone. Because I think you end up with 1 card in your bind zone still that you just like swap in and out.
yes.
Yeah.
At least from a cursory read. Without a way to like swap that out with something in your hand or something like that, it's gonna be to like always choose the effect that you want. Like basically, in like putting on a grade 2 rear guard or a grade 1 would be the most awkward. Putting on like a grade 1 rear guard that like is on play or something would be like less good, but like I don't know, it definitely would need something to manipulate that. Just kind of like might feel bad to play.
It kind of sucks that the ability is at the beginning of your main phase where you choose, then you bind. I feel like it should be the other way around. Because it would suck if you're like, I'm going to turn this into all evens. And then you bind a grade 1 after doing that. You're like, cool. Great.
You are
Awesome.
drawing 2 cards a turn, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But is that
But
really
like
worth
the
it?
effect feels what? Yeah, I mean, how much does the card matter, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a YouTuber called Matthew Matosis who he does video games, and he did a review of Skyward Sword back during the original, not during this remake that's coming out, or yeah, re-release. And when he was talking about the motion controls for Link, where it's the sword follows you in like a 1-to-1 fashion, and sometimes the game doesn't register a hit even though it looks like you should have. He said before, Link's sword swings were monitored to a button press, and if you hit that button 100% of the time it would work, but in a game like this that's not always the case, so having a button work some of the time isn't a good thing.
No.
And to that I point you to this effect where on other cards that effect's on all the time. It's not like you gotta flip a coin and see if it works. It's not Barrel Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Atlas, do you know the Yu-Gi-Oh card Snipe Hunter?
Yes.
So for those who don't know, Snipe Hunter is like a 1500 attack dark like level 4 monster
Yeah.
that has an activated ability or an ignition effect that you can discard a card to target something and roll a dice. If you roll a 1 or a 6, nothing happens. If you roll a 2 through 5, you destroy the target.
Yeah.
This card is just like a -3. Sometimes you discard 2 cards of this shit and kill nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, you discard 2 cards and kill 2 things. It is the most infuriating shit, right? For everyone involved.
Yeah. Like, the only time it was ever, like, quote-unquote worth it was in the heyday of Stardust Dragon because it couldn't prevent a possible destruction.
No, it was played much before that. It was restricted at one point.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's before
Yeah,
my
yeah,
time.
it was played. It was played in like ye olden days of Yu-Gi-Oh. The card is just so fucking lame.
Yeah.
Like nobody has fun with that card.
Yeah. I don't think people are gonna have fun with their Vanguard being like, yeah, sometimes it's just not working today. Meh.
Yeah. But like, assuming that there's ways to set it up, like as of now, you can build around it so it always does, like almost always does the same thing, minus binding itself. But like, yeah, I don't know, but that's probably not actually what you want. So it's definitely going to require some rear guards to really fix up a lot of the, like usually when you have like a modal effect, you make each effect weaker because you have a choice. So that's that's basically how it needs to be, in order for it to be kind of a worthwhile effect.
If it worked the way that we thought it did at the beginning of this recording, which that's kind of weird to like see our opinions change in real time.
Oh yeah, no, that was the first time I read the cards. That was my live reaction.
Yeah. Oh no, I had just seen two different translations of it, where one of them is number of grades would just be one or the other, and the other translation was if it's all the same grade you get.
Yeah.
So two very different things. But assuming it's like the latter, I just whatever Snipe Hunter. That's our answer to that.
I hate Snipe Hunter for pro sides. Like, but I hate being on either side of that card.
Yeah.
It's just so lame.
So, yeah. Hopefully the rest of these ride lines mean something. All we can say is that field spell is dope.
Yeah.
The whale?
Yeah, the whale.
The whale is quite
nice. You said
nice.
field spell. I was really confused.
That's what Rupert called it in the video, so.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. What were you going to say, though? I cut you off, Rupert.
I mean, the other ones have more promising mechanics. See, when they first gave us the, like, blurb about this card where it depends on the grade in your bind zone, I assumed we were going to get something like Mystery Flare in V.
Ah, okay.
And that is definitively not what we got.
Yeah.
But, like, the other one... Okay, well, I still have no idea what the hell is going on with the one that's about battling with two kinds of precious stone cards, so... yeah, but there's one where the theme is, like, singing songs and triggering various skills that sounds like having different kinds of set... Basically what they did in Bang Dream, where you had song orders you could play. Hey, like, I assume that's what that's going to be. That seems pretty straightforward. There's one that's just about gathering 5 friends together, so just having a board.
Yeah.
So, like, those seem more promising because they're very straightforward and make sense. And then there's the one about having ghosts, and who the hell knows what that's going to be about.
Maybe it's probably going to be something drop zone related that I'm calling it now. And then watch the song one be like, what's that card where in Yu-Gi-Oh where the guy has to give you a handshake? Yu-Gi-Oh Friendship. That's what I'm thinking of. Watch it be something like that where you have to hit the notes.
Yeah, but the modern ruling is they just have to accept the idea of a handshake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they don't have to actually touch you.
Yeah, because I don't want to touch your crusty Cheeto dust covered hands.
I also do not want to touch Yu-Gi-Oh players.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's okay. They're finally making an actual online client that's not Duel Links.
Man, I can't wait till Vanguard's online client. Are you ready, guys?
We'll be like getting cybernetic implants by the time that happens.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess to that, I say to you, the listener, what do you think? Do you like the even odd? Do you like the TD ride line? What do you think's gonna happen? You can shout us out at Nexus at Night, Twitter, Instagram, or if you want to help the show out, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Bonus content every week. You get a whole ass bonus show every Monday, plus a bunch of other stuff. Where can they find you guys on the interwebs?
You can find Matt on Twitter at Wiggums, 2Gs2Zs.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse.
Matt, did you see my my terrible Ralph Wiggum meme today?
I think so, question mark? Let me look it up again.
There was the thing about Magnolia.
Oh, yeah, no, I saw that.
Making you proud. You can find me at Atlas Novak, Twitter, Instagram. Or check out my other podcast, Generation Dan. Gen X, Millennial, and Gen Z talking about various topics. I'm sure I'll have these two guys on it at some point. And till next time, I was Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
And have a good night, everybody.